So hey guys, before we start this video, I'd like to say that if you are under the age of 12, I would like to ask if you can get a parent and have a parent sit down with you to watch this with, please. Or even if you're not and you're going through this, I know stuff like this is difficult, but this does mention sexual assault, getting molested, ethic. So if you are very sensitive to topics like that, then I probably do suggest you click off this video, or as I said, get an adult to watch it with you, because this is going to be very raw and it's going to have a lot of just stuff. So yeah. And this will be uploaded to both of my YouTube channels. I will attempt to upload it to my both of my Instagrams, and possibly as many social medias as I can to get my story out there, because I want to help you and as many people as I possibly can. Either if you're an adult, a boy, a girl, a child, I just want to help you so you can stand up and get your your voice heard. I am here to help you and help get justice for all of us. And this, I'm going to try and keep it in timeline form. There may be some stuff out of timeline, but I'm working on it. And not only that, we are still going through some stuff. So in the next few weeks, if you want to hear more about this, please stay tuned, and I will update you guys probably next week, like on Wednesday or Saturday. So please hit that subscription button and that bell if you want to see more of me and my daughter. Obviously, you've seen who we are. I'm Jasa. That's Kai. She's not going to be in this video, though, for those of you who are really used to seeing Kai's face. Sorry, she's not going to be in here. And not only that, I have my microphone and my laptop and my camera. I'm recording my laptop today, so I'm using my camera. So yes, please grab an adult if you're young and this is very sensitive to you. I do want you to hear my story in case this happens to you or someone you know, so please watch. So let's jump into the story. So the beginning of this starts. My birthday is May 4th. This was all happened in 2018 and is still going on to this day. So my step uncle, who is my stepdad's brother, comes to town. With his daughter. I start to get really close to him. Not really thinking anything of it. Well, one day in June, I was just gotten home from girls' camp. It was I believe June. Oh my gosh, I don't even know. It was the beginning of June. I believe the first week or so of June. Me and him were hanging out in the living room, and I asked him if he'd rub my legs for me because my legs were kind of in pain, because for those of you who are Mormons and stuff like this, it's you gotta walk out these kind of things. So it was I was like, will you rub my legs for me? So he goes and rubs my legs, and he scooches his hand up over my butt and kind of squishes my butt, I guess. I can't even remember. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this isn't right. And me being the dumb person I was having a lot of issues with my mom and stuff at the time, because I was in a horribly toxic relationship. Mind you, it was toxic. So instead of confronting my mom about it, I go to my ex-boyfriend, who was a total douchebag, and was like, hey, this happened. And he's like, oh, don't worry about it. It was probably nothing. Let me just say, if you ever have a gut feeling about something, you go with that gut feeling. You don't go based on what someone else says or whatever you want to hear or whatever they want to hear. You go based off of what you have a gut feeling about. So I was like, okay, whatever, it's nothing. So I just brushed it off. Well, it happened 2 other times. And honestly, I can't remember those other times very well as much as I remember that one. Well, on June 23rd, 2018. It was June 22nd, actually. We were sitting outside, just hanging out. My stepdad and my step-uncle were having some beers and stuff. And around like 11:30ish, I was like, okay, you wanna know what? I'm gonna go to bed. I have to give this talk in the morning. So I get up and I head upstairs and I go to bed. Now it's June 23rd, 2:16 a.m. I get woken up by someone jumping on my bed. I look over and my step-uncle's laying on my bed. I'm like, hey, what's up? And he's like, oh, I just can't sleep. I was wondering if I could hang out with you. And I'm like, yeah, sure, but I have to get some sleep. I'm giving a talk in the morning. And he's like, okay, I just want to hang out for a little bit. And I'm like, okay, sure. So I roll back over trying to go back to sleep, and he wraps his arms around me, kind of like a big bear hug. And mind you, I was laying on my left side, kind of just like this. And, he started saying, I love you. So, me not thinking about it, I was like, oh, I love you too. And, he just kept saying it over and over and over again. And then finally he started kissing my shoulder. And, that's when I started thinking, oh my gosh, this isn't right. Something's going to happen, something horrible, Ow. And most of the time, someone's like, oh, that will never happen to me. I was one of those people. No, that will never happen to me. I'll be fine. Kind of like how I said, nah, I'm not gonna get pregnant. So, after a little bit of saying I love you and kissing my shoulder, he goes and he slips his hand down my back of my pants and starts touching my butt. And so I just kind of sit there again, laying on my left side, which is this side, and just curled up in a ball like this. Mind you, I was wearing a spaghetti strap tank top and basketball shorts, like gym shorts, And after a few minutes of touching my butt, he slowly moves his hand to my vagina and he inserts his middle finger. Well, he starts to say, oh, you feel so good, you feel so wet, and stuff like that. And I just lay there not knowing what to say. And from time to time, he would say, "You're not gonna tell your mom, are you?" And I didn't know what to do. I didn't know what to say. And I'm just like, I realized that was, I didn't know what to do. I didn't know what to say. I didn't know what to do with myself. And so after a while, he finally removes his finger. And he goes and he moves his hands, tries to move his hands to my boobs. Well, again, I'm sitting like this, just clenching myself like this, holding on to myself for dear life, trying to comfort myself. Well, he kind of goes and brushes my arms away, and he goes and he starts touching my boobs. I'm sitting there, shaking, on the verge of wanting to cry. And then he goes and he's like, "Can I see your boobs?" And that's finally when I snapped into it. And I'm like, I gotta go to the bathroom. So I quickly pull myself up and I quickly run downstairs to the bathroom. So let me quickly explain what our house looks like fast before I carry on. So we have a basement. There are my two brothers' rooms are downstairs, and my cousin is downstairs as well. And then there's a bathroom downstairs. It was like kind of like a little just like a little like living area. It had a kitchen and stuff. And then there was the main level. There was the kitchen, the living room, the bathroom, my mom's room, and then my uncle's room. And mind you, my mom's room is right next to the bathroom. And then there are there's a staircase right next to where my step uncle was staying, right next to that room, which is next to the kitchen. And my room, was the biggest room, and it was just a big, huge attic room, And so, carrying on, I quickly rush downstairs into the bathroom. I lock the door, and I go and I sit on the floor, kind of curled up in a ball, and I cried for what seemed like 30 minutes. I feel like I was crying for 30 minutes in that bathroom. And finally, after a while, he comes downstairs and he's like, "Hey, I've got to use the bathroom." And I'm like, "Okay." So I quickly go. I wash my face up with some water. And I hurry and I walk up and I try to hurry up the stairs. And he goes and stops me and he's like, "Hey, I'm sorry." I'm like, "It's okay." And I quickly run upstairs. And I don't even know what time it was at the time. Mind you, I didn't have my phone because I was doing stuff I wasn't supposed to be doing. I was sending stuff I wasn't supposed to be sending to somebody. And so I had a alarm next to my bed. That's how I knew the time. And so I just laid on my bed and I just bawled and bawled and bawled all the way up to I think it was 5 or 5:30. I just laid there curled up in a ball crying. Finally, I cried myself to sleep. And I think it was around 7 or 8. I wake back up and I get myself ready for the day and I go downstairs. He wasn't up yet, but my mom and my stepdad was leaving to go get some matching tattoos for I think it was Father's Day or something. They were getting matching ring tattoos so that they wouldn't have to wear wedding rings anymore. And so they were just leaving. They were just about to leave, and my mom asked me to get my youngest brother a popsicle. So I go into the kitchen and I grab him a popsicle and I'm cutting the end off of it, and lo and behold comes my step uncle. He wraps his arm around me, and I cannot remember what he said. He said something to me, but I can't remember, and I'm standing there all stiff, what do I do? And I'm like, "Okay, yeah. I'll read the report to you after. But I quickly go and give my younger brother a popsicle, and then my mom and stepdad leave. Finally, my grandma comes, and we're walking out the door, and he just kept saying, bye, 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 and bye, Jason, and I'm like, okay, bye. So I hurry and get in the car, and I go home, and the first thing I do was dial my ex. Dumb. I hate myself for every decision I made that day. And that time that I spent with my ex, But I called him and I explained to him what happened. He's like, I'm gonna go kill him and yada yada yada. Mind you, I'm 3 months older than him? I'm older than most of my exes, man. Like, Kai's dad, I think I'm like a month and a half older than him. But yeah, that's not part of the story. And I'm like, no, you can't do anything, yada yada yada. And so I get up and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go get ready. But then something just told me I needed to tell my older brother. So I go and I knock on my brother's door and I look at him and I'm like, I think I just been sexually assaulted. And he looked at me and he's like, what? Are you joking? And I'm like, no, I don't. And I just burst into tears. And he comes and gives me a hug and he's like, you need to tell mom. And I'm like, can this please wait till after church? And he's like, I guess. So I quickly go downstairs and start to get ready. Well, after a few minutes, my brother comes running down the stairs and he's like, Jasa, I need to borrow you for a second. At this time, my grandma, nobody in that house knew other than my brother. He's like, Jasa, I need to talk to you for a few minutes upstairs. And I'm like, okay. And so, we go and we run upstairs and he's like, okay, I'm calling mom. You need to tell her. And I'm like, okay. So he goes and he calls my mom. And my mom's like, what's up? And I'm like, so-and-so touched me. And I just remember her screaming, turn the collar around right now. And she screamed it so loud. They were on their way to Salt Lake to go and have lunch after they got their tattoos. My mom even said in the car that he was acting very strange because usually he played with my baby brother. My younger brother was at my cousin's house. My older brother, And so I go and I pick up my ex because, again, I was giving a talk in church. And my mom calls me when we were just about there, and she's like, is there a place you can talk right now? And I'm like, no, can you just give me a few minutes and I'll call you? And she's like, okay, yeah. My grandma looks at me, she's like, oh, what's your mom want? And I'm like, oh, nothing. And this is where I get pissed off, man. Like, thinking about this pisses me off. My ex looks at me and he's like, mouths to me, you didn't tell them yet? And I'm like, no. And he's like, oh my gosh. And I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, I'm sorry. You respect someone who's going through this because they don't know what to do. You can't push them to tell people they don't want to tell yet, that they're not comfortable with telling yet. And so finally we got to the church, which is across the street from my house. And I go into one of the church rooms and I quickly call my mom. And I start explaining to her what happens. And she's like, your brother just stuck his fingers in my daughter's. I can't even remember the word that she used. It was some scientific word. It was not vagina, though. And I'm just sitting there about to cry. And, she's like, okay, you need to go tell your grandma what's going on. And I'm like, okay. So I leave that room and hung up on my mom, and I go and I'm like, Grandma, I need to talk to you for a minute. And she's like, okay. So we go out of the chapel, and I go and I explain to her what happened, and she just starts bawling, and it's like, oh goodness. My grandma, mind you, is the type of person who likes to tell people other people's business. And so, I go and I give my talk. I sat next to my second mom. Yes, this person was called my second mom. She still is my second mom. And I was just so nervous because like my mind was not able to focus. But finally, after me and my ex go and sit outside the church, we take him home. My grandma comes out and she's like, I just can't sit in there. So we take my ex home, and after a little bit, my mom comes, and we sit there and we talk. My mom's like, okay, I'm going to go and file a police report tomorrow, and because I wasn't able to today, but we're going to go file a police report, and most likely sometime this week, you're going to have to go down to the Justice Center and tell them your story. And I will read that report in the end, so stay tuned for that. So, I go and my mom goes home, and I just can't even remember the rest of that day. But then a few days later, I go to the Justice Center. Okay, please don't touch. I go to the Justice Center, and I explain to them everything that I just... Okay, please, Kai, I'm asking politely. I go and I just tell them everything that I just told you. There's probably a lot more detail, and again, I will read it. Will you stop and just watch your movie? And, he finally got picked up. I think it was like a week and a half or so later at his mom's house. There was so much court. I didn't get to go to any of the court dates except for 2. Mind you, I was pregnant at both of these. The first one, I didn't even know I was pregnant. But they were supposed to sentence him at that, but I think they had to reschedule because his attorney couldn't be there. And I just remember going out into the hallway. We were sitting there, and I just couldn't stop looking at him. And I just burst into tears. And we had to go out into the hallway. My mom, my stepdad, me, my grandma, and my dad. I believe my sister was there. And then the second time, it was May 1st, 4 days before my birthday. I was pregnant with Kai. I knew I was pregnant with Kai. We go and to the court, and they sentenced him to 1 year in jail, 1 year of probation, and then 10 years as a registered sex offender. I had a rough couple of months after that. But finally my mind just kind of toggled over to this. And then, oh my gosh, I'm sorry, my mind is just all over. And then finally, he got out of jail 2 months early. which caused me a very big panic, and it's made me have a lot more trouble sleeping over the past year and 2 months now. I haven't been able to sleep good at night ever since he's gotten out. I can't sleep unless Kai's like right there next to me. I just kind of gone on with life. Recently, I think it was like 2 weeks ago, we found out that he was going to jail. We didn't know why he was going to jail. We didn't know anything. And then finally, the day before my birthday, we found out that he was going to jail because they found porn somewhere. We don't know where. All we know is that he was caught with porn, and he's been on the run since November. Because they flagged him, and finally he turned himself in after 6 months of running, 5-6 months of running. On Tuesday the 11th, we went to court, and we sat there for 2 freaking hours. I wasted 2 hours of my day sitting there listening to all of these people. Like, I don't even remember what they're called, you know. Me and my mom knew somebody, and I sat there trying not to laugh because he used to hang out with my aunt. And so I just kind of sat there laughing and yada yada yada. And finally it gets to the end, and it's like, okay, well, can we just call Nelson Gonzalez? Can we call so and so up? And they're like, yeah. And so they have to go and find him, which takes 5 minutes. And finally he goes and he sits down after waiting and waiting and waiting. Me getting anxious, waiting for him to go and pop up onto that screen. He finally popped up onto that screen, and they were like, his eternity didn't know that they were supposed to meet up. And so they have to reschedule it for next Tuesday, which means I'm gonna have to go through it again. Having to go through that court again, and not something I'm excited for, but it's something I will do if I have to do it. Okay. Court is hard. But I sat there waiting, expecting to see his face. I wasn't scared to see his face. I want him to see my face. I want him to know the suffrage I've been through for the past 3 years. I've been in so much pain in the past 3 years. I've had so many nightmares. I've had so many sleepless nights because I'm afraid that it's gonna happen to me again, or it's gonna happen to Kai. I can't sleep without Kai next to me because I'm afraid that it's gonna happen to her. I can't sleep. It replays in my head almost every fucking night. Every single night I see it over and over, and it won't leave me alone. I just wanted to leave, but I'm gonna be living with this pain for the rest of my life. No matter how much I want it to go and leave me, it will never, ever leave me. And that's what sucks. Because you have to live with that. You have to live with what happened to you. But you know it's not my fault. I know it's not my fault. I didn't say, hey, come and get on top of me. You know. But it still hurts because it's like, it's traumatizing. I have PTSD. I'm not gonna lie. I will be honest. I have PTSD. People may say this isn't as bad as World War veterans, but I bet you bucks it is as bad as a World War veteran. And as I promised you guys, I will read the report now. Let me go find it fast. So, I apologize. I really couldn't get into the place I was trying to get into to read it. I apologize for that. But, you know, I really do appreciate for those who have watched this whole thing through and who is willing to listen to my story. Because I know it's hard. I know that's hard to listen to stuff like this. But, you know, stories like these need to get out. Can I have a kiss? Mwah. But yeah, I think we're going to end this video here. I said Kai wasn't going to be in here, but look who's in here. So yeah, if you guys enjoyed, don't forget to leave a like. Comment down below for any ideas, suggestions, or questions you have. Hit that subscription bell and hit that notification button. But if you guys enjoyed, please leave a like. Comment down below for any ideas, suggestions, or questions you have. Hit that subscription button. And don't forget to hit that notification bell as well so you can get notified every time we upload. And we will see you guys in the next video. Say bye-bye, Kai Kai. Mwah. Can you say bye? Say bye-bye. Can you say bye? Bye. Bye. Okay. Bye, guys. Kiss. Mwah. Bye, guys. Can I have a kiss, too? Mwah.